Welcome to our presentation tonight. We're talking about what you're seeing on the screen right now, which is discovering guest blogging opportunities. Or in other words, how do I go about finding an opportunity to provide a guest post for another website or another blog? Now, first of all, the why. We talked about this last time, so I'm not going to focus on this too much, but the question as to why we do this is answered in several different ways. I'd say the number one reason why is for links going back to your site, which helps us in Google. The number two reason why is for direct traffic / customers going to your site because of that link that you can put in a guest post. A reason after that is to maybe gain some authority or credibility in your niche. That's another good reason for it. Another reason might be to gain connections within your niche. I guess we could say like networking opportunities. Bottom line is we're doing this to get traffic. And what is guest blog posting? It's basically where you provide an article or a blog post to a blog owner for free. Well, mostly for free. The thing that you require back from them is a link going back to your site, or maybe a link going back to not just your site. Maybe you send a link back to your Twitter account or your Facebook page, but you should get paid in the currency of some sort of promotion for yourself. That's why we're doing it. Okay. The whys are easy. The how do we find these opportunities and how do we do this effectively is the more difficult question. Tonight I want to focus on where to find these opportunities a bit more. Okay. Now, last week when we talked about this, for those of you guys who are here with us live, maybe that wasn't last week, maybe that was 2 weeks ago. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What kinds of ways did we go about finding these guest blogging opportunities? For any of you guys who were with me a couple of weeks ago. I don't even know how many of you guys were actually there a couple of weeks ago. I know a few of you were. Yeah, sure. Find. Okay, I agree, Cindy. You Google them. I know that's lame. She could. The answer Google it or Google them could be the answer to a lot of different questions, right? Well, let's do some examples of that here in just a sec. Yeah, not only Google them, but we'll say underneath this, we'll say use terms, or no, let's not say terms, use phrases like guest post or submit guest post. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so that's one way to find opportunities. Here's another way. I guess this kind of goes along with Googling for them, but find blogs in your niche and email the owner to ask. Simple as that. We'll do some of that here in just a sec. What else can we do? Okay. Well, I think we could probably belabor this a bit more. I think these are the main ways just to find them. Either Google them directly or look at blogs in your space. One thing I want to add to this, but I'm not going to make it its own separate number. I'm just going to say, you know, look for fringe blogs. Okay, so one of the number one reasons why people don't guest blog a lot is they tell me that their niche, and again, the example we'll build on from last week was beekeeping. So we're going to pretend like we own, tonight we own a beekeeping shop of some sort that sells beekeeping gear and equipment, hives and suits and gloves and chemical tests and food and all sorts of things, right? That's our business. And the big thing I hear from clients is like, oh, I went out there and I looked for beekeeping blogs, and there just weren't there really weren't that many. And the ones that were out there, I asked, for an opportunity to guest blog post, and I didn't hear much back. So this strategy doesn't really work for me. So couple of problems with that statement right there. If that's you, I'm pretending like that's one of you guys talking to me about why this doesn't work. Problem number one is you're probably not doing it right when it comes to your pitch to these blogs or emailing the blog owner. One thing we'll focus on maybe more next week is preparing the blog for your pitch. Sometimes a cold email from somebody out of the blue asking to post content on the blog is not something that blog owners like, especially if they don't know you. However, if you've interacted with them on Facebook, or maybe you've reposted one of their blogs on Google+, or in some way you've interacted with them, maybe you've commented on a blog post a few times and so they're aware of who you are, that little bit of work to foster maybe even some inkling of a relationship before you pitch them on trying to do a guest post can make all the difference in the world. So that's one piece of advice I'd give you. And then the other piece is what I just wrote down right here, looking for fringe blogs, meaning maybe there aren't a lot of opportunities in the beekeeping space for blogs because maybe there just aren't that many blogs out there. But you have to look at what's related to that niche. And you could argue very, very easily that gardening would be related, right? So you got to make a list of related niches, and I would say, gardening, flowers, right? What else would be a fringe market to the beekeeping space? How about like the green movement or the eco-friendly niche, earth-friendly, right? Maybe homesteading, or sort of like the survivalist type movement. See, these aren't beekeeping, right? But they're related. Gardening because you need bees to pollinate. Flowers because you need bees to pollinate. Saving the earth, right? We need more beekeepers because bees are dying off. Homesteading because people want to make their own honey and be self-sufficient, right? We could go on and make a list. And so there should never be the comment to me, hey, I don't have enough opportunities. There's not enough blogs, because someone who has a flowers blog or some sort of a landscaping blog, their readers would probably be very interested in learning about the number one pollinating insect out there, right? That's helping keep their yard beautiful. So this really shouldn't be an issue. Let me look at some of your. Oh yeah, that's the obvious one. Honey, yeah. There's actually, and going along with honey, you would even say like food blogs, right? Like 5 of you guys said that. I missed that in the comments. Allergies. Yeah, that's a good one, Catherine. So let's just do this real quick. I know we don't have a lot of time. We wasted a little time early, but let's go to Google and just so you can see what I mean by sort of a filtered search. We can type in our niche, beekeeping, and then put in guest blog or guest post. I had a list of them last week. See if I can find it right here. Yeah, these right here. Let me copy these and put them in our notes for today. You put the keyword and then you put in this quotation right here. Okay. So I could do gardening, submit a guest post, and do a search. What that's going to do is somewhere on the page that's coming up in Google, these exact words are used somewhere, submit a guest post. And then somewhere on the page, gardening will be worked into that. So here's this first listing right here. I'll click on this. Okay, this is called the Garden and Patio Home Guide. I haven't looked at this before, so we're doing this on the fly. This says we're always looking for high quality articles that our readers can benefit from. If you'd like to submit a guest post, be sure to fill out the form on the contact page with the subject guest post and send us a message so we can discuss it. Okay? What I would do at this point is I would probably just look at the blog first and just see what they're talking about. Okay, this is about gazebos. This first post that I'm seeing. Wow, it's a long blog post. Holy cow. Wow. Okay, I'm still scrolling. Okay. A garden furniture post. Wow, I mean these blog posts are crazy long. It's worth it to kind of look at what kind of content is on the blog. Other posts that they have here, the complete guide to pergolas. So I'm seeing more of this is it's not necessarily gardening, it's like outdoor decor and patio furniture. So would that be appropriate for a guest post from somebody doing beekeeping? I don't know. I mean, maybe. It's worth an email at least, right? I might message them and say, hey, this is what we do. Are you interested? And they may not be. I can't imagine how a beekeeping post would make sense on a blog like this. So maybe we would skip it. We'd head back out to Google. Okay, here's another site, outdoorgardenliving.net. Okay, your chance to write for us. These guys do plant germination equipment. Yeah, they've got gardening products. Yeah, this might be okay. It says Outdoor Garden Living now gets over 13,000 visitors a month on average. We're looking to expand our content to reach out and help more people decide on our lawn or gardening product. Then they go over guest blogging requirements, so on and so forth. It's okay, maybe, right? Maybe that could be an opportunity. So on and so forth. We could keep looking, okay? Now, this type of a search doesn't need to be our only search. I could go out and look for gardening blog, right? We said one of the second ways is just to simply Google your fringe keyword plus blogs, so we can go out there and find fringe blogs. They may not necessarily have anything about, we'll try this one to start here, awaytogarden.com. They may not have anything about guest blogging on their site. We'll look on this one real quick. And this would be appropriate. I mean, they're talking about, right, how to freeze herbs. Applesauce. How to properly plant a tree. Yeah, so I mean, there's stuff on bugs too. So yeah, this would be a good one. I don't see anything about guest blogging though. So let's go to their about page. Nature, how to. I want to find a contact. Plants. I could even search the site to see if they have anything about bees. And that might be part of my pitch to them. It's like, hey, you don't have anything about bees. You know, let me share a few things. So I could search the site. I really want to find, oh, there's a contact page right here at the very bottom. Sometimes they're hard to find. There we go. They say the comments on any blog post are the best place to catch my attention, particularly if you have a garden question. Okay. Well, regardless, we could send this person a message. I don't see anything on the site about guest blogging. So I could send them a message here and give them a little pitch, which we'll talk more about later. The problem with this approach still is that I'm cold calling them, right? And I would venture to guess that they get a lot of guest post questions. So the better approach would be to make a note of who these guys are, and then, you know, twice a week for the next 6 weeks, comment on blog posts, retweet their stuff, interact with them, thank them for how much you love their blog, and then reach out to them and try to work out a deal where you can drop a guest post. I mean, it looks like a very active blog, so you can imagine the benefits from this. A, you're going to send yourself traffic. B, you're going to get a high quality link back to your site, and that above all is what helps us, because then the link will send us traffic, but more than that, it'll help us in Google, right? I mean, there's so many of these opportunities for the very specific niche of beekeeping, and I use that as an example because that's such a niche that you would think it would be difficult maybe to find opportunities, but it's not. Okay. All right, guys. I think we've probably covered enough. I feel like you should be able to find plenty of opportunities. Maybe next week we'll talk about how to pitch these people and what to actually say in the email. But as a prereq, you know, you got to get used to the blogging culture, and maybe you should start reading some blogs and maybe interacting on some so you can understand it a little bit better before you try to actually do your own guest posts. And certainly, at least, you know, have a blog of your own for sure. Oh, that's cool, Elizabeth. Yeah. She says, I get petitions from Earth Justice to save the honeybees. There was, in the news recently, I guess there's 5 or 6 breeds out of Hawaii that are native to that area that have now been put on the endangered species list. The ones that we keep, we've got a couple of hives ourselves. The ones that we keep are European, so they're not endangered. But as a whole, yeah, honeybees are certainly under attack. Yeah, Peter, no pergola is complete without a beehive. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, that's funny. We've had some guys this past week. They're doing some landscaping in our backyard because we're expanding our deck. We've got this really small deck right now, and we're doubling the size and laying a bunch of concrete, and we had to tell them, are you okay with bees? Because every time they walk back into our yard, they walk by our hives. And a couple of them had a look on their face like, I don't know if I'm okay with that. Shelley says, I noticed top authors had their websites under their names. Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, I hope this was helpful. I want to inspire you guys to actually try this strategy because it's extremely effective. So let's maybe get into more detail next week. Thanks for taking a few minutes with me. Hopefully this was helpful. I'll expect you guys to more of a percentage of you to actually be doing this than not. Catherine says you can also check out lawn decoration that may be used to disguise a beehive. That's actually not a bad idea. You could somehow like weave that into a garden decor site. I like that. Okay, I will, Greg. We'll cover more of that. I've tried to cut down the length of time on these posts. I've gotten so much feedback from you guys that they're too, or not posts, but these presentations they're just too long. So we're trying to do smaller ones that are a little more impactful. So anyway, it's tougher when you get one of these bigger topics. I mean, we could probably sit and talk about this for hours on end, but I want to just hit some main points and then let you guys go try it. Okay. I like that, Shelley. Shelley's going to make a beeline to do this. An appropriate pun for sure. All right, guys. Well, yeah, and Beatrice, everybody's on mute. So if you see yourself muted, the only way to communicate during these trainings are through the chat. We just keep it that way because there's a whole big group of you. So if you do want to say anything, do it just like that through the chat. Okay, well, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you guys Thursday again, and we can talk a little bit more about this then. See you guys soon.